I'm a software engineer, and everywhere I look, people are talking about how AI is going to replace us. No one really knows what the future looks like or how our jobs will change. All we know is that our jobs will change, and they're already changing. But instead of getting caught up in the fear and the panic online, I think it's far more useful to focus on the things that we can control and the skills that we can build to help us stay relevant and to make sure we don't get replaced by AI. It's inevitable that our jobs will change because there are so many areas where AI is so powerful and will definitely have an impact on our jobs. But there are also areas where AI is not as strong and will actually never be able to compete with what we do as humans. So in this video, I'm sharing the skills that I'm doubling down on that I think are going to be really important with the rise of AI and how you can build on those skills as well. The first area to focus on is human skills. The more powerful AI becomes, the more valuable genuinely human strengths will become. And that's because these are the things that are really hard for AI to replace. I'm talking about human skills like communication, empathy, leadership. And I think there's this misconception that all developers do is code. But that's actually only one small part of a software engineer's role. There are all these other human aspects that are just as important. You need to be able to communicate with a wide variety of people, whether that's technical people or non-technical people. For example, you might need to be able to explain a technical feature to a non-technical stakeholder or discuss different priorities and different timelines and maybe different trade-offs for different solutions. And then you'll also need to collaborate with other technical people. So maybe explaining ideas to teammates or working through complex solutions together or discussing different design solutions. And your ability to communicate is going to determine how well you do this. You also have to be able to work with or understand the real problems that people are facing. So maybe the real users that are using the tech on the other side. Maybe thinking about how your work translates to the real world and thinking about that human aspect and just relating it to real-world applications and day-to-day life. You need to think about what impact your work has, the reasons behind these features, and kind of really questioning the best solution and why that is the case. You need to be able to have leadership skills in order to guide different projects or lead on different things or bring a team together and find that direction. You also need to have great understanding and empathy of other people, the users who are using this technology, or even just the people you work with day to day. You then need great communication skills to be able to communicate all of your changes, all of the work effectively, both to your teammates and the people that you work with day to day, and also those other key stakeholders that maybe you don't come into contact with so often, but they're the people that really care about the outcomes of your work. All of these skills, plus I'm sure there's many other human skills like this, are so hard to automate and probably impossible to automate. So these are going to become more and more valuable, and they're going to help you stand out and separate you from AI and every kind of generated piece of code or piece of software that is going to become more and more apparent. The next skill is prompt engineering. Knowing how to work with AI is now a core part of being a developer. And a huge part of that is being able to give AI the right instructions. Prompt engineering is essentially the art of being able to give correct instructions, correct and clear cues in order for the AI to output something that meets your standards. Vague prompts give you vague results, and maybe results that aren't even relevant or aren't specific enough to your need. But the clearer the prompt, the much better the outcome. Good prompting helps reduce hallucinations. It helps improve the quality of your code, and it helps improve how aligned the final solution is to your initial goal. But if you don't give the correct prompts, you'll end up wasting a lot more time, because then you have to go back and fix all of the errors that the AI put in place. It also means learning how to create good documentation and enough context to provide to different AI tools and agents in order to get the output that you want. So things like different specs, or maybe some instructions in Markdown files, or maybe just how you document your existing code base. You want to be able to have everything as clear and as structured as possible, so that whatever tools or models you're using, they're able to then understand all of your existing context and all of your existing code bases, all of your existing infrastructure, and then also able to understand exactly what you're trying to achieve. You've probably or almost definitely heard the phrase, developers won't be replaced by AI, but they will be replaced by developers who know how to use AI. And it's so cliche, but it's also so true. The people who know how to use AI effectively and who are able to kind of steer these tools and use it in lots of different ways, but to the right amount, are the people that are going to get further ahead. This doesn't mean that you need to use prompting for everything and use AI and all these different tools for every single task, but it just means knowing how to use them and where they can really benefit you. And prompt engineering isn't a complicated skill, but it does make a huge difference to your workflow. And this makes it a really high impact skill for a relatively small amount of effort. We also have system design skills. So system design is about understanding how everything fits together. So how different services communicate, how data flows through applications, how things scale, and how to make different technical decisions that work in the long run. So you need to be able to zoom out and look at the bigger picture, looking at what to optimize for, what scaling is going to look like, what trade-offs there are, and what technology you should use that best fits your use case. And these decisions that you need to make all require lots of context and experience in the platform and in those systems. And that's because the answer to these questions that you might have can be so nuanced and so particular to every use case. And this comes down to, again, the experience and the context and business goals as well. And because of all of those factors, it makes it extremely hard to automate. So as AI handles more of the implementation details, it becomes much more valuable if you're able to take on this big picture thinking, zoom out and look at the system design as a whole. The next skill is developing a product mindset. The most valuable engineers aren't just those who are the best or the fastest at being able to code. They're the people who are also able to think about the product. They understand why something is being built, who it's being built for, and why it's done in a certain way. They're able to understand the pain points for a customer or a stakeholder, and they're able to think about what problem they're actually solving. And at the end of the day, businesses want to succeed. They want to be the biggest competitor in the market, and this is only going to come if they're solving real user and real customer problems. So you need to have that product mindset to think of the end user and the end goal. And this is so that you can build products that people actually want. AI doesn't truly understand users or business goals or how things relate to day to day in the same way that a human would. And if it's not just you coding as a hobby, you should always be thinking about why this feature exists and why it's being done in a certain way. So as an engineer, if you're able to think with a product mindset and you're able to think about the value you can provide and the reasons behind everything, that's going to be so much more valuable than someone who just knows how to write code. Another area is code reviewing and security. As AI writes more and more code, we're spending more and more time reading that AI generated code, which means we need to get really good at reviewing it. So thinking critically and spotting issues and being able to provide good feedback to the AI so that it can iterate on it and provide further changes or improved iterations. But more importantly, if it's your name that's attached to the code that goes to production, you need to be able to understand and explain that code as if you wrote it yourself. So even if it's AI generated, you're still responsible for that code. So you need to know what it's doing, why it's doing that, why it was done and implemented in a certain way, and you need to be able to explain it to other people if they ask. It's still you that's responsible for this code going to production, and it will be you that is responsible for this code if anything goes wrong or if anything breaks. And this links directly to security, because AI can be so powerful and so great, but it's not reliable 100% of the time. AI does get things wrong. It can hallucinate, it can introduce different bugs, it can introduce different vulnerabilities, it can introduce different code smells. So you need to be able to be quick at picking up on these things, spotting these issues, spotting these code smells, and stopping that from going to production. And some of these errors and vulnerabilities can be really subtle that you really have to pay attention. You could be communicating and going back and forth with AI, and AI can be so certain that it has it right, even though it's definitely wrong. The responsibility still sits with you as an engineer to spot all of these problems. So you need to get good at reviewing all the code and spotting these issues. And as a final side note, this isn't really a skill, but it's incredibly important. With how fast tech is changing and how fast AI is improving, you need to stay up to date. You need to stay aware of what's happening, or at least the most important thing is being able to be adaptable. So if new things are coming, new things are changing, new things are happening to the way you work, you need to be able to adapt and be flexible with the way you work and take on new challenges. You don't want to try and resist all of these changes. If you do end up resisting or you try to cling on to old ways of working, you will end up falling behind. The engineers who will progress and will stay ahead are the ones who are staying curious, who are always open to trying new things and learning new things, picking up new skills. And you need to be open to adapting and pivoting as the industry shifts. So this could just mean attending events or staying up to date by tracking industry news or listening to certain podcasts, maybe subscribing to certain newsletters. As long as you're kind of staying aware, you don't need to know everything that's happening and everything that changes across every different piece of tech, because that's probably impossible. But just keeping an extra kind of eye out for big things and just knowing in the back of your mind roughly what's kind of happening in the industry and what kind of shifts are happening. The more you understand what's happening around you, the less intimidated you're likely to feel by these changes, which means you're more likely to be able to adapt instead of feeling left behind. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you agree, disagree, or whether you have any other skills to add to the list. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll leave my links in the description box below. Hopefully see you next time.